Perfect. Yeah, Legacy Builders is here. We're in the building. What's the topic for today?
Listen, man, rent, it costs too much.
Who you
That's the
telling?
topic. That's the topic for today,
Who you
man.
telling? Who you telling, man? Yeah, so let's just get into it, man. Just talking in general and being a real estate agent, it's really one of those things where rent is at an all-time high.
Mm,
It's something where you're going through these places. Let's use a couple states for example.
mm,
So for Connecticut, the average one bedroom, depending on where you're living, costs about $1,400 to $1,500.
okay.
Two bedroom costs about $1,700 to $1,800 depending on the area, and that's just basics. I'm not talking about luxury buildings and buildings that actually have like a real security system and stuff like that.
Mm,
It's prices as high as 2,000, 2,200, and especially if you're trying to rent out a house these days. If you're trying to rent out a house,
mm.
that alone is like 22, 23, some places 2,700 to rent out a house these days.
And then,
That's insane prices, man.
and then when you move in, don't you have to have the first month security? So you isn't it like that? Like you have to have the first month in security,
Yeah.
right? And then you have to also have your income has to be 3 times the amount of the as the rent.
Correct.
So let's say if the rent is $2,000, that means you got to be making 6,000 a month or better.
Correct. Absolutely.
That's
Those are some of the basic qualifications. Let me get even deeper.
Mm,
These days, right now, the rent has to be 3 times, like you said.
yeah.
And depending on credit, some landlords want you to put down 2 months security deposit. So in some cases, imagine where your rent's $2,000,
Mm.
and so you got to put down $4,000, and then
That's
the
just for
2,000
security.
so just for security, and then put another $2,000 down for the first month's rent. So it costs you $6,000 to move into an apartment. That's the basic level.
Mm.
The deeper level is, like you said, some landlords are asking for people's taxes, to look at their taxes to make sure make sure how much they make. Especially for entrepreneurs or people that have their own business, that's what they're looking for. They ask for people's bank statements. They want to see how you're spending money, all that type of stuff, just to get an apartment these days.
So, as far as the taxes, is it just the last year's taxes or 2 years worth of taxes?
Depends on the owner. It's really contingent upon the owner. Some do the last year's worth of taxes. Some go as far as 2 years taxes. And the insane part is like buying a house where the rental requirements are becoming not only the same requirement as buying a house, but even more. Where again, they're asking for statements. Some people, bank statements. They want your credit score to be at a certain point. It's actually a higher threshold to have a credit score for renting an apartment. Meaning that there's landlords that say, "Hey, I don't want nothing less than a 700 credit score to get into an apartment."
What's the lowest as far as credit score that you see for the requirement for an apartment?
The lowest requirement?
Yeah, well, the lowest score, I guess.
Lowest score, honestly, if you're under 650, you have a real hard time of any landlords trusting you to get an apartment, to be honest with you. And 650 is not horrible. But, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you can't get into an apartment somewhere with 500 credit score, but this is what's going to happen. You're going to live in a neighborhood you don't want to live in, first off, and that may not be safe for you or your kids.
Right.
Also, you may run into landlords where if they don't have a basic standard, that may be a sign that they may not be a great landlord. They may be a slumlord. Not saying that for everybody in every case, but it's a real thing. Think about it. If a landlord has no type of threshold, has no type of standard, what does that say?
Right. Yeah, anybody in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's with the rental market right now, it's getting crazy. It's tough out here because as a realtor, unfortunately, not only are there those requirements, but you have a whole bunch of people out here running their credit 8 million times.
And what's the downside for somebody running their credit too many times?
For those perfect. So when you're running your credit that many times to get an apartment, your score is dropping every time you're running your credit to go ahead and get into these places. So imagine a person where you have a 650 credit score and you had to run your credit in a 3-4 month process looking for an apartment 7-8 times. Now your score dropped down to a 580 just from running your credit alone.
And then you finally find an apartment, but now your score is not 650, no more, it's 580.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
And it's crazy on the reverse side is that it affects you because now all those places that ran your credit, I'm not saying they don't care about you, but it's a business move for them. So they need to see where your credit's at. They're not concerned what happens to you if they don't accept you as an applicant.
Mm.
So what does that mean? That I ran your credit. Hey, Mr. Potential Tenant, we chose somebody else. So now your score drops and you lost out on that apartment. And you got to start over again.
Now, as far as aren't there like application fees for the apartment?
We didn't even get into that. There are application fees. There's a lot of application fees ranging from $50 to $100, $200. So imagine you're in a situation where now you're actually paying for endless application fees. I had somebody that I was working with recently. They was like, hey, last year I spent $2,000 on application fees alone.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And then that person, did they even get? And did they get an apartment or did they get?
Yeah. I helped them find a place.
You helped them find a place. Okay.
But the point is, $2,000 later.
Yeah, that's crazy.
In a place that it was decent, so I'm not gonna knock the place. It was decent, but it definitely wasn't their first choice. It was like their 40th choice, which is insane.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, man. Because when it comes to rent, it's so insane. Where it's just like a lot of people say, home ownership is not for them. And let's be clear, home ownership is not for everybody. But when you do the math, if your credit score has to be even higher to get an apartment, and you can get a home or a condo for, with a 620 credit score, why not get your own condo?
Yeah. It's
still the same space. That's what we always try to preach to people with legacy builders, where it's like, hey, listen, you're paying for an apartment, you're paying $1,500 a month for a 2-bedroom you don't like. I know you don't want to be a homeowner, or home ownership is not for you, but in all reality, with the programs that is out here and available with down payment assistance and things like that, you can have $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 and still get that same condo, and it's yours.
And to your point, when the person rents, remember, it's temporary.
Correct.
So whether they rent for a year, they rent for 2 years, they keep quote unquote renewing that lease, it's still always temporary. At least after 15, 20 years down the line with the home, you've already paid off your home. You already paid off your home by half at minimum. You get what I'm saying? You still have another 15 years to go, because most average mortgage is about 30 years, right? But after those 30 years, it's yours. Even within those 30 years, it's still yours. You don't have to worry about leaving or going anywhere. As long as you pay your mortgage, you're good to go. And most people don't understand that concept, that you have to pay to live regardless. Either you're going to pay temporarily per year, or you're going to pay for 30 years. And at that point, because think about it, who wants to, at age 50, 60 years old, want to still be renting or still, having to go through that process? So, it's crazy.
And to your point, it goes to piggyback of what you said. It goes so deep where, think about this logically. If we just went over the math, in some cases, if your rent is $2,000, it costs you $6,000 to move in an apartment. Now, if you were to get your own condo, same space, going to actually cost you a little bit less. That type of apartment might only cost you, and we're talking about Connecticut, for example, just one of the states and price points.
Okay.
That place might cost you $1,600 a mortgage. So you're paying less to own versus paying more to rent. And somebody else bosses you around and controls everything you do. Writing up leases. Hey, you need to turn down the TV by 9 p.m. at night. You got to do X, Y, Z. All these rules and regulations. And let's not talk about, the landlords out there that are not the great ones, where they actually don't take care and fix things that need to be fixed immediately. So you paying more to rent than to own. And here's the kicker. When you pay your landlord, last time I checked, the landlord doesn't give you back a percentage or any more than like, hey, you've been a great tenant, I'm going to slide you back $1,000, even though I made, $24,000 this year on this. You don't see that.
That's a fact.
But if you own, it's your condo, you're getting some of that money back. Right. So you're paying it off, you're getting a rate of return on your money. So same example, in some cases, you have a $1,600 mortgage, $1,100 between taxes and interest, that might go towards that, and $500 you get back. So you paying off your mortgage $6,000 a year. So that means that at that rate of return, on top of the value of your house going up, 10 years from now, you want to sell? I'm not great at math, but you're walking around with, between the profit and the money you get back, you're walking away with $80,000, $90,000 in your pocket.
That's
and you're not a homeowner. And you're in that condo space just like a regular apartment space is the same exact space.
Yeah, and you know what it is too. I think a lot of people, one of their biggest concerns is like the maintenance of a home, right? So it's not that people don't want to get a home. It's just that for a lot of people, they just want to pay and go. You get what I'm saying? So for those people who just want to pay and go, you know, that's their biggest fear is, you know, now they gotta, you know, I guess, you know, mow the lawn. They gotta make sure that, you know, the garbage is taken out a certain way, or else they'll quote unquote get a ticket or something like that, especially here in New York, right? So there's different things that they have to do to upkeep the home. So what would we say to that person, those individuals who, you know, have this stigma of the fear of getting a home because, you know, the upkeeping of it, they're afraid of? Like, what would you say?
I love that you brought up that question. Okay. The reason being, it's pretty much identical maintenance with a condo versus a house. So let's distinguish a house maintenance versus condo maintenance. To keep it simple, house, you do got to worry about shoveling snow. You do got to worry about if the roof goes X, Y, Z. But if you do a condo, which is the same exact style as an apartment in a building, but it's your particular property, you don't really have to worry about all that maintenance. For a condo specifically, you only have to worry about the walls inside, your toilet seat stopped up, things like that, minimal maintenance. So it's the safest way to own. Because guess what? That's why you have HOA fees, association fees.
Oh, so those fees take care of the things. Okay, got you.
That's why they have those fees. So everything that happens in a condo association, everybody pays for it. So it means if the whole building roof blows off, everybody's paying for it in their fees. That's why they have that. So you don't have to worry about that maintenance.
Gotcha.
90% of condos that you move in, they shovel the snow out at when it happens. They take care of all of the maintenance on the building. You only have to worry about from the studs from inside of your apartment. So again, simple things like plumbing, sometimes electrical, and that's easy to maintain. So it's literally just like renting. That's why it's a great thing to do, especially with today's day and age, with the way these rent prices keep going up. You might as well take advantage of it. Because a lot of people have the misconception that, hey, I don't want to be a homeowner, but you might as well be a homeowner because you're doing the same thing. It's no longer lopsided. Back in the day, 10 years ago, it was different. 15 years ago, it was different. But now it actually costs more to rent than to own.
Right. That's crazy. That's crazy. Think about it.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah. It's pure insanity. And the truth is it's unfortunate because I mean, think about it. Remember when we had one of our first apartments? And that was like 2008,
2007.
2007, 2008, and we were paying like $700 a month or something like that for like a 2 or 3 bedroom. Today's day and age, that's easy $1,800 to $2,900 depending on where you live it at. And you know, I'm not good at math. How old am I? 39? Yeah. So, but the point is, but you see, the rent has tripled. Tripled. Now, that same example, if we had mathematically gotten a condo back then, we'd only have about like 5 or 6 years to pay off the condo. And we would have paid like $100 grand.
That is crazy when you think about it. When you put it into that perspective,
we would have paid back then probably like $90,000 for that condo, and such condo today's day and age is probably worth like $180,000, $200,000. So we'd have been laughing and walked away with like 60, 70 grand each at minimum.
That's crazy.
Come on. And if we didn't want to walk away, we could have rented it out. And remember, we was paying $700 back then. Such said condo can range anywhere between, you know, like I said, $1,500 to $2,500 charging somebody else rent. So imagine condo paid off, and we splitting a check for $2,500 and barely have to do any maintenance. And all we did was live like we do every day.
So I wish there was 2 individuals like ourselves, right, who could have talked to us back in 2007, like we do it now, right? But unfortunately, we didn't. So that's why we're here right now, talking to the people, letting them know, you know, the different opportunities, like we discussed the other day, the different options that people have, you know, versus, you know, just solely renting. They can actually have the opportunity to own a home. Yeah, man.
I mean, and you know, and one of the things we want to go, because we want to let people know is that you want to just go to our website, because we have a couple of events coming up to address some of these issues.
Yeah.
You know, we got an event coming up March 1st of this year and March 15th, where we're talking about real estate. We're talking about home ownership. We're going over some of those programs we're talking about, where again, you only really need $3,000 to $5,000 and you can get your house or your condo. Where we want people to come out and learn, and it's fun. You know, we're going to have drinks, food. The first event is going to be March 1st in Stamford, Connecticut, and another one on March 15th. So these are some of the things we talk about. But in the meantime, if you have questions, definitely go to our website, which is legacybuildersus.com. DM us, reach out to us. We can kind of go over some of these things. But what I will say before we go here shortly is that if you do need to find an apartment, definitely that's okay. If it's really not for you, we can assist with that too, because of course we're realtors as well. So we can help you find that apartment. But what we will do is we'll help put a plan in place where, okay, listen, you may rent for this year, but you're only renting for this year. Let's work on your credit, which we handle as well. We take care of credit as well. And then from there, by the end of the year, we'll have you ready and eligible to buy a house. And this way you do your own thing after that. So that's some good things I want to put out for today. I mean, You want to put any final thoughts out there?
Listen, man, at the end of the day, you know, everybody's situation is different. We tailor to each and every individual's financial need. No matter if it's going to take you a month or 5 years, no matter what the time frame is, we are going to be here to help you. And our question is to you, how can we help? You know, so keep that in mind. Like Rashidi said, go to the site. Once again, www.legacybuildersus.com. That's www.legacybuildersus.com. Book an appointment, a free consultation on how we can help you. Once again, we specialize in real estate, credit, life insurance, retirement planning, savings, budgeting, interior designing, anything under the sun when it comes to finance, we can help you with. So go ahead and book an appointment. And that's it on my end, man.
Definitely. All right. Everybody have a good day.